Hello everyone, welcome to another opinion piece by me, and right from the start I'm going to say that I thought this video is going to be different. Different in terms of how I thought it would be made and what came out in the end. I wanted to write something negative about Helldivers 2, but it turned out to be a positive video instead. Here is why. Before Super Earth was invaded, it felt, for me at least, like the game will most likely die out in the coming year. Despite the surge of players returning en masse for the first Illuminate incursion, player counts have decreased since rapidly, with the vast majority of players abandoning the game, and for good reasons, up until this point. And I say up until this point because, well, you see, in the last few updates of the game, Arrowhead basically added everything I wanted Helldivers 2 to have from the start. For instance, since the first few hours I played the game, I wanted to have weapon customization. It was hands down one of the most frustrating things to contend with, the inability to customize your weapons and basically having to deal with the basic loadouts of weapons as they were made by the developers. And then all of a sudden, as if Arrowhead read my mind, they dropped the weapons customization update out of nowhere. Suddenly, that Liberator assault rifle you didn't use since your first few hours playing the game had a reason to be used again. Suddenly, my dream of a 60-round drum magazine for my Liberator armor-piercing rifle became a reality. I even got new attachments that reduce recoil and give me the ability to mount flashlights. This is absolutely awesome, which kinda begs the question why this wasn't part of the game at launch. But I'm going to keep the positivity in here and say, hell, at least it's now here and I'm thankful for it. Another weapon that has become an absolute joy to play that I rarely see being used on the battlefield is the laser cannon. What was once an utterly useless item against the bots has now become a game changer that can kill most bot units with less time than what it takes you to engage them with conventional weaponry. Gunships, those pesky riot shield wielding robots, even the dreadnoughts can find themselves getting wrecked by this cannon. The only thing it cannot outright kill are bot tanks and base turrets, which, let's face it, are usually getting the 500 kilo express treatment anyways. Right now, it is an absolute force multiplier, a multi-tool can opener that can cut straight through all but the toughest bot armor, and one that with trigger discipline has basically infinite ammo. Also, just a reminder that it also sets biological enemies on fire, dealing extra fire damage to those hard to kill bugs and Illuminate. Enjoy it before they nerf it again. Moving away from weapons, one other issue that I thought about ranting is that the game lacked in enemy diversity, and I don't mean it by a DEI sort of diversity, but by giving enemies different abilities or mutators to differentiate themselves from planet to planet, giving said enemies some kind of buff or attribute that forces players to use different tactics and gear depending on what buffs the enemy gets. And again, like Arrowhead read my mind, they added a new mutator-like system where the bots and bugs each has their own some kind of variation depending on what sector you're fighting them. Like for instance on the Battle of Zosma, I fought against the bot Incineration Core, which adds bot variations with flamer and flame based weaponry. These were absolutely brutal to fight against, as every round fired at you seems to be made out of white phosphorus, promoting you to clean the dust off that flame resistant armor you kept in the closet but never had much reason to use until now. planet generation in general seems to also have improved, with city maps that debuted with the squid invasion now being part of bot and bug planets as well. Finally, we stopped fighting in remote wilderness where nothing noteworthy exists and started fighting them in the streets of humanity's cities. After fighting bugs and bots for almost 100 hours according to Steam, at least for me, I can basically say this is literally a sight for sore eyes. A game mechanic that can generate more interesting terrains goes a long way to keep people playing for longer periods of time. But the best improvements this game got recently, at least in my opinion, are better progression and increased super credit spawns. For instance, super credits were once abundant in the missions themselves. Many players praised the game for not being too greedy and allowing players to accumulate super credits in a relatively normal pace, one that didn't push players as hard as other games towards buying in-game currency with real money to unlock the war bonds. And of course I bet this did not sit well with the execs at Sony, who probably told Arrowhead that players finding a lot of super credits on missions won't spend real cash buying them in the store, possibly promoting a change in the super credit spawn rate. I have no concrete proof of this, but all I can say is that in the last year I have accumulated 150 super credits in 30 hours of gameplay. The rate in which I found super credits was painfully slow, and when I talked about it with other Helldivers, many shared their opinions, which was similar to mine, which is something has caused super credits to become much more rare than it was at launch, presumably in an effort to shove people towards buying super credits within the in-game store. Well, now I can officially claim that everything is back in order. I have managed to gain 50 super credits while playing the game less than 4 hours on a level 6 difficulty. This can mean several things. Either that I'm lucky to have people on my team who know where to find super credits, like police dogs know where to find hidden cocaine caches by sniffing the air, or that maybe we just got very lucky. But my gut feeling says that there was a certain recent change in the matter, a change Arrowhead did, probably to make the game a lot less grindy and a lot more accessible in an effort to bring back a chunk of the community back into playing the game. Alongside super credits, it feels like progression or the progression towards victory is also improved, or at least went back to what it was before. For instance, for a long time it felt like the galactic war is going nowhere. Take a look, for example, in the areas of space the bots and bugs controlled over the last year. The bots and bugs still control today about all of the territories they held 6 months ago and even before that. This can be attributed to the declining player counts, but the declining player counts are basically just a symptom and not the root cause. The cause, at least from what I think, is the stupendously slow progression towards victory, because you'd only get to see that victory meter move after a successful campaign, which depending on your difficulty level can be either one mission, but it can also be 4 or 5 missions, and I rarely saw a group of randoms complete a full campaign. Most of the time, many people will disappear after a mission or two, or the host just quit mid-campaign, or some server problem will throw everyone out, but that means you now have to start all over again, which probably contributed towards making people quit the game outright. And now, instead of progressing towards liberation per campaign, it again is more like a gut feeling than anything else of mine, but it seems like instead each mission now contributes to moving the meter of victory. Instead of 2 hours or 1.5 hours, something like that, of gameplay on level 6 difficulty being worth 0.0002% to the overall victory progress, now 1.5 hours of gameplay are worth 0.0006% for the overall victory progression. You might think this is not much, but that is triple the victory progression rates, and it means that each mission, each successful mission, contributes to overall victory. So now, even if the host quit mid-section or people start playing the disappearing act, you can sleep well with the knowledge that your efforts still made some progress and that it wasn't all for nothing. I'll be honest here, I have nothing negative to say about this game. The gameplay is great, sound design is great, the music is great, the atmosphere and the immersion is great, the community is active, the devs are listening, the war is ongoing, but you don't get the feeling of attritional warfare fighting for months on end over the same sector. It feels like how it once was, a return to glory for Helldivers, if you will, where the players and not the corporate execs are the target audience. In fact, the only things I wish to see next added to this game are battles where our SEAF brothers return to fight alongside us, an 8-player server option, and armor customization, which the devs said had to be cut from the game in order to streamline it for the release. And that's it. That's all I can think of in terms of how to improve this game. And if Arrowhead gives us all of this, then this game will be a 10 out of 10 for me. But even though right now it is still way better than what it was, and is a general improvement and a step in the right direction. I saw a video suggestion a few days ago on YouTube with the title Helldivers is a game that should be studied, and you know what? I absolutely agree. This game needs to be studied. It needs to be made an example of for everyone how to make a live service game, one that constantly resurrects itself despite many hardships, despite the review bombings, despite the majority of the community abandoning the game several times over the course of 1 year. It still manages to rise from the ashes of its corpse like a phoenix every time, flames and all. But this is my rant and my opinion on the current state of Helldivers 2. What's your opinion about Helldivers 2? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.